What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to make a video kind of breaking down this UFC middleweight division, considering that Dricus du Plessis doesn't have a fight, that Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev is next, possibly for a title eliminator. There's also been rumors that Sean Strickland is going to be the fighter fighting Dricus du Plessis next, and Sean Strickland himself has come out and said that that fight will occur, and I will link that video right here talking about where Sean Strickland said that stuff, and of how truly that the middleweight division right now is an absolute mess. We have so many different prospects like Kyle Brahalo and Nasourdine Imovov coming up. Brendan Allen just lost, and he's going to have to fight some individuals. So I want to matchmake the UFC middleweight division right now and kind of break down the future of the UFC middleweight division. There's so much stuff going on. It's one of the most competitive divisions in the UFC. It's got a lot of future stars currently in it, and I think it's a division for the future that is only going to get better over time. If you guys enjoy the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel grow. And while you're down there, please turn on the post notifications just so you guys are always notified whenever the UFC content releases. But without further ado, let's jump right into the video of matchmaking the middleweight division. So currently in the UFC middleweight division, we got Dricus du Plessis as the champion, Sean Strickland as the thought of #1 contender. We have prospects like Khamzat Chimaev fighting Robert Whittaker coming up. The fight of Nasourdine Imovov versus Brendan Allen just occurred. Kyle Brahalo beat Jared Cannonier in August. And this division is kind of at a stagnant point, considering that a lot of individuals who have fought recently, and in some very good fights, by the way. I know that Imovov versus Allen fight yesterday wasn't the most exciting fight, but truly it was a fight that was really essential in that middleweight division, considering that both Allen and Imovov are going to be prominent figures for years to come. But really, what do I think about the UFC middleweight division, and what matchmaking do I think should really occur? I do think that the next fight in the middleweight division should be Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland, and I think that should be made for possibly UFC 310 in December, UFC 311, or possibly 312. I know Islam Makhachev is hinting at coming back at UFC 311, and I will make a video on that very soon, but I do think that having Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland 2 as the next title challenge at middleweight would be an incredible fight, considering that fight originally was very close and a lot of fans were split on who won. I know Dana White said he thought Strickland won. I know a lot of the fans are saying that du Plessis won, but I do think that is the fight that really needs to occur next. But after that, there is some cloudy water in the middleweight division. We got Israel Adesanya, who just lost to Dricus du Plessis for that middleweight shot, and he hasn't fought outside a title in almost probably, I don't know, 6-7 years, and that is some crazy stat line from Israel Adesanya. But who could Izzy fight next? And I do think that a fight with Kyle Brahalo would make the most sense inside that middleweight division. I think that would be something that would truly go hand in hand for Kyle to be able to go in there and show off against one of the best strikers inside the division. I think that Izzy versus Brahalo would be a fun matchup, and I do think that Kyle Brahalo could truly take it. Now, Kyle is in one of those fighting camps that is becoming really popular right now, the fighting camp of nerds, as a lot of individuals call it. But if you don't know who really is in that fight camp, there's 4 fighters who really are: Kyle Brahalo, Marcio Ruffy, Jean Silva, and Carlos Prates. Carlos Prates fought at UFC 305, knocking out Li Jingliang in an amazing fight. Jean Silva fought at UFC International Fight Week and then turned around 2 weeks later to beat Drew Dober in a weight class up at UFC Denver in an incredible fight. Jean Silva is one of my favorite fighters inside the organization, considering of how skilled and talented he is. Rufi, I don't know much about, but I do know he is one of the most talented fighters inside that UFC featherweight division, I believe, or bantamweight or lightweight division. He's in one of those, and truly, I do think that Kyle Brahalo, out of all of them, might be the best, considering that he comes from a great wrestling jiu-jitsu background and has a great striking game to go in it. That fight with Jared Cannonier, Brahalo looked amazing in, and I do think that would give him the ability to possibly beat someone like Israel Adesanya. So I do think that would be an amazing fight to make for the future, possibly give Kyle Brahalo for a title shot, and see if Israel Adesanya can beat some of the new contenders coming up. Now, Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev is scheduled for UFC 308. That is a massive fight because that has been noted as possibly a #1 contenders match for the UFC middleweight division, and the UFC truly could be waiting for that fight to occur to see what happens to maybe give Khamzat the title shot or Whittaker to jump someone like Sean Strickland. Now, ultimately, I don't believe that's going to happen. I think Sean Strickland has set himself up for the next title shot, so I do think that either Robert Whittaker or Khamzat Chimaev is going to have to wait out for a little bit. If Robert Whittaker wins, I think either one of them should wait out for a title shot. But in my perfect world, I would make the winner of this fight Nasourdine Imovov for a #1 contenders match, for a title shot guaranteed. I think that would be an amazing thing to do for this middleweight division. I think Imovov is a great fighter. I think truly he is one of those individuals who is so very good in every little thing that he has been able to do inside the octagon. He is someone who is so well-rounded. He's got a great jiu-jitsu game. He's an amazing striker, and I think that him versus Whitaker or Hamza would be an amazing fight for either one of them. I know Imovov originally is from Dagestan. He moved to France at a young age, and he's worked on his striking there, but he also comes from a great jiu-jitsu background, which makes him one of the most well-rounded fighters inside the organization. So I do believe that would be an amazing thing for Imovov to be able to get an opportunity to challenge for the title against the winner of Hamza Chimaev and Robert Whitaker at UFC 308, and I think that is the best fight that you could make on in that moment. So I think that would be kind of for the best thing for the top of the UFC middleweight division. But kind of going down a little bit further, Brendan Allen just lost to Nasourdine Imovov, and I think the fight that you should probably make is that fight with Marvin Vettori. I know those two individuals have beef with one another. They were originally scheduled to fight in early April of this year, and Marvin Vettori pulled out, making Chris Curtis stepping in one of a great fight. If you have not watched that fight, Brendan Allen versus Chris Curtis 2 was an amazing fight, but Brendan Allen ultimately got the win there and then challenged Nasourdine Imovov at USA Paris, and it was a close fight in my opinion. I did think that it was a unanimous decision for Imovov, and I did think it was pretty clear cut that Imovov won rounds 2 and 3 and Brendan Allen dominated round 1, but I do think that you shouldn't jump him down so much in competition, considering that Imovov is one of the best prospects inside that middleweight division. So I do think that Marvin Vettori fight would be incredibly good. Jared Cannonier should fight someone kind of below him, maybe the winner of Roman Dolidze and Kevin Holland that's coming up here at UFC 307. I know Kevin Holland likes to stay active, and he's been calling with a fight for Jared Cannonier, so I do think that this would be an incredible fight to put on. I know Roman Dolidze and Jared Cannonier were scheduled to fight last year on December 2nd at UFC Austin, which was eventually canceled, considering that Jared Cannonier, I believe, tore his ACL or MCL, and that fight was scrapped from the card. And then obviously Roman Dolidze went on to fight Nasourdine Imovov and went to fight on Anthony Smith. So I do think that the winner of Dolidze and Holland should fight Cannonier sometime probably in the early stage of next year. I do think that either individual it's going to be a great fight for either one, and I do think that it would be a very exciting fight inside the middleweight division. I think Paulo Costa needs to fight someone below him. I know Costa's lost a lot of fights in his recent past, so I do think that Costa needs to get a fight kind of on his next track. But ultimately in the middleweight division right now, those are kind of the big key figures. I know Bo Nickel just has a fight with Paul Craig, which is going to be a very exciting one. But ultimately the middleweight division, I believe right now, is in a very good spot for the future. I think that there is a lot of title challengers and people calling for the title, and that there's a kind of a long line, but ultimately you are going to have to fight your way to get the title and show everyone on why you deserve it. And I think that's what Robert Whitaker understands. I think Hamza Chimaev could be placed into a title shot, considering that he is one of the biggest stars inside the organization. There's future prospects like Kyle Brahalo, Nasourdine Imovov, Bo Nickel for the future, and truly I think the middleweight division is one of the most interesting divisions inside the UFC, considering everything that is going on with it, with its prospects and its different fights, and the champion Dricus du Plessis. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think down below in the comment section about the current state of the UFC middleweight division. I think the current state of the UFC middleweight division is in a great kind of state at this point. I think that the middleweights right now, there's a mix of old guys, there's a mix of new guys. We get the veterans like Whitaker and Adesanya coming with the new guys of Nasourdine Imovov, Kyle Brahalo, Bo Nickel coming up, and kind of those in-between veterans like Sean Strickland, Dricus du Plessis, Hamza Chimaev, who's fought in the UFC, who's still kind of a prospect. But truly, I do think that the UFC middleweight division for the future is in a great place right now, and I do think that there is going to be some fights that are going to be incredibly fun to make down the road, considering we got a lot of different prospects, a lot of different people calling for the title, and there's only one champion, there's only one Dricus du Plessis, so these individuals are going to have to fight one another prior to getting a title shot. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy the UFC content, and while you're down there, please turn on the post notifications if you guys enjoy the UFC content. Without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.